Hello. I was prompted to make this video after seeing a post on social media recently by a colleague. Now, when I first met this colleague many years ago, she was what would today be described as a balanced trainer. And balanced meaning that although she focused primarily on using positive reinforcement, she would, if necessary, use some mild aversive to tell a dog that it had no choice. It had to do what it was being asked to do. And she was a very successful trainer. She has a huge following. Then, a number of years ago, I noticed that she had switched to being a positive-only trainer and had now said that you shouldn't use any form of aversive or punishment in dog training. You could train them just using positive reinforcement. Now, this is something we would all love to be able to do. I would love to be a positive-only trainer. The reason I could never be one is because, in reality, positive-only dog training isn't dog training. If I wait until a dog stops doing something I don't want it to, and then I feed it, all the dog has learned is that it's still free to carry out that behavior, but that when it's finished it can come and get some food. This isn't training. Training would be where I made the dog understand that it couldn't do that thing anymore, and it then stopped doing it. But what clients who follow that positive-only ethos find is that the dog 2 years later is still barking or lunging or doing whatever it wanted to do, but it stops a little bit quicker so that it can come and get some food for it. That's not dog training, and it's certainly not something that my clients would ever pay me for in reality. Can you please get my dog to carry on doing the thing that he's doing, but then come and get some food afterwards? But she went down that road and became a positive-only trainer. And then recently I saw that she'd put up a post questioning this and saying that she thinks that maybe this is not the way forward, and she's now in this state of flux where she's thinking, perhaps I've not been doing the right thing. And I have enormous sympathy for her and empathy for her, because she's found herself in a very difficult position. Nobody becomes a dog trainer because they want to fail owners and dogs. They genuinely believe that they can help, and we'll pick whichever path that we choose in order to achieve that. The reason why I could never be a positive-only dog trainer is because I know that it would never give the client what they paid me for. And because they paid me, I feel a moral obligation to do my very best to give them the result that they were asking for. So if they say, I want my dog to not bark at other dogs, and I say to them, well, I want you to turn and go the other way, or I want you to distract him with food, I know that's never going to stop that dog barking at other dogs, which is what they're paying me for. So I couldn't take their money. But I think sometimes they're offered these techniques by people who either believe that long-term that would work, or it's the only thing they have available to offer, so they offer it anyway. So this person is now in this dilemma, and although I feel for them, I feel that something now needs to happen to move them onto the next stage. Now, I started an organization called the K9 Instructor Academy, and the reason I did that was because I wanted to create a place where trainers who weren't sure which route to go down, or maybe were just starting out and weren't sure what was the right path, that I could give them guidance on the path that I think is the right one, which is encouraging dogs to make as many good choices as possible, but then finding ways to reinforce that so the dog understood that that was the only choice that was open to it. And you can do that without abuse, without being cruel or wicked or pinning the dog or hitting the dog or alpha rolling. You can do all of that without being as abusive as some positive-only trainers would have you believe. And so I started the Academy as a place where people could go to learn how to train dogs in a way that I believe is effective. And on, I think, just about every one of the courses that I've run, I've had at least one positive-only trainer who's come on there because they've started to realize that what they're doing just isn't working. And these are always some of the people I most welcome on the course, because I know what bravery it takes to A, be prepared to accept that maybe what you're doing isn't right, and B, be prepared to take on the vitriol that you get from many positive-only trainers if you go over to what they see as the dark side. And I know that that takes a lot of courage. So I'm always very supportive of the people who are brave enough to do that. But I think as a trainer, my obligation and any other trainer's obligation should be to give the client what they want. If they want a dog who doesn't bark, you have to give them a dog that doesn't bark. Your technique has to create that. If they want a dog who's not going to pull on the lead. You have to give them a technique that you at least believe long term will actually achieve that. And if you don't do that, if you give them a technique that probably somewhere in the back of your mind you know is never going to work, then really you're just stealing their money. There's another dog trainer, or he calls himself a dog trainer, that I know, who puts out loads and loads of videos where you see him getting an owner to just eventually get their dog to stop barking at that thing when the dog is bored, give them some food, and then convince these people that their dog is being trained. No, the dog will bark at other dogs forever, but it'll just learn that I bark at other dogs, and then when I'm finished barking, I can turn to you and get some food. I think that's theft. It's never going to give the client what they want and what they're paying for. So I applaud you, that person. I hope you'll know who I'm talking about, who was brave enough to do that. And I think power to you. Well done.